Welcome to Interesting Choices, a show where we look at media and all the different choices it makes. We're going to talk about movies, books, games, music, any type of thing that makes interesting and weird choices. We will probably talk about it. I'm one of your hosts, Kate.
And I'm Sky.
Hey, Sky.
Hey, Kate.
So this week, we are going to be talking about another thematically appropriate film.
Yeah, accidentally. But yeah, you turned me onto this one, and I had never heard of it before.
Yeah, I saw this when it first came out in 2012, and boy howdy, is it a product of its time.
Yeah, I kind of love it, honestly. There's something very endearing about this movie, despite its flaws.
The movie that we're talking about this time around is 2012's Unicorn City.
Yeah, and if you're watching it, if you have watched it, and you thought, hey, that kind of gives off a Napoleon Dynamite vibe, it's because the guy who directed it was the art director for Napoleon Dynamite. So.
Yeah, and he also did a little bit of something with the script.
Him and I think his brother and one of the producers all co-wrote it, it looks like.
He has some sort of screenwriting credit on Napoleon Dynamite as well.
Yeah, I think he was a script advisor on that, too.
Yeah. It has lineage, and it definitely kind of has that young people being awkward feel.
Yeah, it's very natural. It also kind of feels like this was someone's first movie, which is appropriate, but like that's stuff I can gloss over. Like this movie's very good about engaging you while you don't notice stuff that if you picked it apart might ruin any other movie.
Yeah, it's definitely got its rough parts, but overall it's a fun story and very 2012. Oh boy, 2012. We kind of touched on it earlier, but this is part of our not copyright infringing tabletop December fiesta, or D&D December, if you want to be a little bit more on the nose about it.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure we can say D&D without paying anybody.
Okay. But yes, it is part of our D&D December movie fiesta, and it is about tabletop gamers who decide to LARP in some very weird way.
Yeah, a really convoluted way that's still kind of fun. Yeah, the movie opens with a lot of panning shots over nerd paraphernalia, dice trays, miniatures, one that's very important to the movie.
Mm-hmm.
God, that thing's ridiculous.
It is the most ridiculous minifig I've seen, and I've seen some pretty weird ones in my life.
I've made weird ones. I had one for Warhammer where I didn't have a head for it, so I just took all of the random skull ornamentation bits and put them in a pile and then stuck that on top and made a sombrero out of green putty. And it was Senior Pile of Skulls for a head.
That's about the type of ethos that this film carries with it the entire way.
Yeah. This miniature is a small man in like medieval garb, and it looks like he should be holding up a sword, but in fact it's a machete made for an action figure many times larger than him.
It's like easily 2 or 3 times the size of the figure, and in the other hand I think he has a lute or something.
Yeah, that would make sense. I didn't notice. I was distracted by the giant machete. But yeah, that action figure is owned by our ostensible main character, Voss.
Yeah, Voss is an interesting nerd man that we've all known and met who is very passionate.
He has anger issues, is what that means.
And has a lot of anger issues, yeah.
I mean, the opening scene is they're at the table. One of the players is having an argument with their DM, whose name is Shadowhawk. That's who he's listed as in the credits. He plays Uncle Rico in Napoleon Dynamite, which I thought was hilarious. Because it could not be a more polar opposite character from that.
Yeah, he plays the effete theater major style of dungeon master, the one who is very focused on his narrative and his story.
Yeah, that would take too much attention away from the narrative. There was one scene where I was like, this guy's giving off big drama teacher vibes, and then it cuts to him directing a play.
Mm-hmm.
So.
We've all known that person who, instead of just sitting down and writing a book, decides that they are going to enact their epic story on the tabletop, forcing all of the players to dance to their whims.
Yeah, and he's doing something, I think if you've ever played a role-playing game at any length of time, you've run into where someone will just not change the rules, but unevenly enforce them so that they have the advantage. Because for some reason, their NPCs, their story is the main character, and it is versus the people playing the game, which is not fun.
Yeah, I've definitely been in sessions like that where it's deeply antagonistic between the person running the game and the players, and it never makes for a good time. I'd rather play a good cooperative game than a well-told epic railroad game where the DM just hates everyone and just wants to tell their story.
If you're running a game and your whole goal is to be I'm more clever than thou, then you probably shouldn't be running a game. Which is kind of this guy's whole thing.
Yeah, and all the players are feeling that same way, right? It starts off with an argument about a cat person who wants to hold a sword, but the DM won't let him steal the thumbs off of one of the fallen enemies and attach them.
And I think now is as good a time as any to go around and name all of the players, because the movie's kind of pretty bad about naming people. And I had to look up a couple people's names. We've got Voss and Shadowhawk. Then there's Marcia, the female lead-ish. Pat and Angie, and they are one character. And they believe in the philosophy of ABN, always be necking.
Yeah, they are the constant barnacle stuck to one another PDA couple that you get at a lot of role-playing tables.
And then there's a Swedish kid who I never caught the name of. In the credits, he's called Moonstrider, and they call him that most of the time, unless they're calling him Mooners, which sounds like a cat. That is a cat name.
He kind of acts like a cat, honestly. He's the most Napoleon Dynamite of all of the characters, I think.
Yeah, he doesn't get a lot of screen time, but when he's there, like I don't go for the awkward, funny stuff that kind of turns me off, but like he actually sold it for me, which was great. And then Clancy, who is the cat person, and I think Voss's brother, one of his brothers.
Yeah.
It's not clear.
It isn't clear, and it's confusing because they do call each other bro, but that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, and then he's got another brother who the movie just never bothers to name, whose name's Jeff, who works at a taco shop. That's a different kettle of fish. And we have one of my favorite characters, Rhubarb.
Oh, hands down. Rhubarb is the best.
Yeah, we don't get a lot of him in this opening scene, but my God, later in the movie.
So it's a pretty large group.
Yeah, medium large-ish. Yeah, Voss tries to take charge and settle the situation, but there's an argument, something about his character being trapped in the astral plane. There's a disagreement, and then Voss pops his top, as one of the other characters says, and whips the sword he brought with him out and stabs it through the table. It's
a real metal sword that he's just been polishing the entire scene. He's just like, sitting there just like polishing this sword. And then he just jumps up and Excaliburs it through the center of this folding plastic table. And everyone jumps up and is like, whoa, what the hell? Like the store owners who are like working the counter in the back just like already on the phone calling the police.
Yeah. And the store owner is Hastuers Gary, because the game shop is Hastuers, which is great. And the other one is Gary's brother. That's all they ever call him. That's what he's listed in the credits as. Hastuers Gary's brother. Yeah, it's kind of there to set up that Voss has anger issues and money troubles because he is charged $300 for property and punitive damages by Officer Cooley, who shows up later with her partner, Officer Hamwater.
And these are the most amazing police. They also feel very Napoleon Dynamite-ish in the like small town cops who are trying their best.
Yeah, I kind of wish we got more time with them because it's just really relegated to a few cutaways and then a big part in like the third act. Like we get hints of personality that aren't really explored. And I really wish they were because they're so goofy and awkward and likable.
Yeah. But the police threaten to take him down to the station if he doesn't want to pay. And he's like, all right, I'll pay. That's pretty much the end of the game. And they're all packing up to go home when Marcia, the bespectacled nerd girl who has been sort of always at Voss's elbow the entire time, decides to walk home with him.
Like, this is probably the only thing that really irritated me about the movie is, like, it is painfully obvious that she is super into Voss. And the movie tries to play it off at first like, there's not really anything there. They're just friends. Like, I thought they were a couple until they had the conversation in front of the house. And Voss is just even more painfully oblivious to the entire situation.
Yeah. So I'm going to kind of show my hand a little bit and like Voss sucks.
Yeah.
This dude sucks. Like this girl is beautiful. She's loyal. She's smart. She like definitely is all in for him. She is the best. And he just does not notice her at all.
If it wasn't like 11 at night when I watched this, I would have been like screaming, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like,
yeah, she is adorable and she's trying so hard. And like this guy does not even notice her in the slightest. And I was like, okay, maybe he's Ace or maybe he just is Arrow or something, like whatever. But no, he is just an ass.
That would have been a great character reveal and, you know, something that would have elevated part of this movie. But no, he's just a dipshit.
Yeah, he starts off as an asshole and then, spoilers, 98% of the movie, he does not change.
Yeah. Everyone else shows hidden layers or some kind of growth or, you know, a turn of some kind. Voss is a dipshit all the way through.
I know you're supposed to sympathize with him, right? This is a nerd fanfic self-insert story, but he is the villain of this movie. 100%.
To his credit, though, he is aware that his problems are of his own making. Like, he's not blaming other people for them. He's not blaming circumstance. Like, he's aware he's the one fucking up. Like, I think I would have gotten insane if that hadn't been the case.
Yeah, at least in that regard, he is not narcissistic enough to push all of his problems onto other people. But a lot of this movie's plot revolves around
his problems.
His very selfish, self-inflicted problems.
Yeah. Well, just to finish that off, Marcia mentions that she's been seeing someone in an online game and it's getting kind of serious. And they're going to go out for hoagies. And Voss doesn't react. I mean, he reacts. He's like, good for you. But you can tell that she was doing this to make him jealous so that he would notice her. He does not.
Nope, not in the slightest. And she's basically like begging him to date her.
Yeah.
He mentions along the way that he has an interview coming up with Warlocks of the Beach.
Yeah, totally not Wizards of the Coast.
Yeah, and he is banking on getting this job and then potentially going to Seattle because nobody appreciates him or his talents, and he deserves this much better, more prestigious position.
Yeah, you don't even really know what it is until he goes to the interview. But before that, we get to meet him and Clancy in their native environment. But Voss has got his figurine of his figure, Magmel, the Bardladin.
Yes.
Which they never explain, but through context clues, you can figure out it's just a bard smushed together with a paladin. It's a very strange concept.
There's a lot of singing in this.
Yeah. There's way more than I thought there would be. But yeah, he's sharpening that stupid machete with a Dremel.
I would have thought it would be plastic, but it is implied that this thing is solid pewter.
Yeah.
And very sharp.
I mean, with how much he's sharpening. Yeah. And I love how that pays off later. Like, there's a lot of things in here that you don't think are going to pay off, but then do in just the best way.
Back at home, he and Clancy, they're lamenting how the game has gone and how their current GM kind of sucks. You can see their environment is exactly what you would think it is, right? There's a whole big miniature play area set up with like terrain and all these different figures. There are places to paint and to set up little minifigs. It's exactly a nerd space.
And I completely forgot about it. I just want to give a shout out to like the filmmakers because I don't know if it was all set dressing or if they found a place, but that game store looked spot on for like every game store I've ever been to. It looked real legit.
I think they just found a real game store.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I know that a lot of this was filmed in Utah.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it's some Salt Lake City game store.
Yeah, then we enter Jeff, the other brother, the only one they actually call brother. They never say his name. I had to sift through the credits to figure out what his name was.
Yeah, he is also a very Napoleon Dynamite-ish character.
Yeah, he keeps trying to hook Voss up with a job at the taco shop, but Voss is not receptive, either straight up ducking him or just not wanting to do it at all.
Yeah. and he kind of lays into Voss, both verbally and physically.
Yeah, he puts him in a chokehold.
We learned through this conflict that Voss lost his job a while back, and he has been promising his brother that he'll get another job, but he's not paying his part of the rent for the closet that he rents out in this apartment.
Yeah, he's got one of those orthopedic foam packing peanuts style, like with the foam fingers that stick up, mattress roll, and then like a sheet for a blanket. And then a computer.
And a lava lamp. In this walk-in closet, which also still has clothes hanging in it.
Yeah. They act as sort of a curtain to his quote-unquote room.
Yeah, but he promises Jeff that he has an interview and he's not just lying about it, and that tomorrow he'll go to Warlocks at the beach and he'll get this job, and then he can pay the rent and do everything he needs to do.
Yeah, and I really like how their relationship ended up, because I thought it was just going to be that for the whole movie. But then later you see how much Jeff actually does care about Voss.
Mm-hmm. Which makes you kind of hate Voss even more, because like the dude has been trying to help his garbage brother for a long time, and he just keeps getting disappointed over and over and over.
Voss's excuse this time is like, I have an interview tomorrow. I didn't want to smell like fish tacos.
Their other brother, Clancy, kind of is just on the sidelines being like, all right, we'll wake you up now that you've been choked out. And Clancy takes care of Voss. Like, they both take care of Voss in different ways.
Yeah, Clancy's more of the actually take care of him, and Jeff is definitely the tough love kind of take care of him.
Mm-hmm.
But he whips his shades off when he comes in. He's got a black eye, and then later he just has a karate trophy that he's snuggling up next to when he's watching TV. So I don't know what's going on there. I love the show don't tell. I really wish I knew what was actually going on.
My headcanon is that he hangs out with the nunchuck guy from Napoleon Dynamite. Regardless, he's a fun character. I think of all the actors, he's also one of the most successful.
Yeah, him and one of the producer/writers also wrote for StarCraft and Overwatch too.
Oh, nice. Jeff's actor was on Alias for like a bazillion years.
That's where I remember that face.
He's basically been in Extra Land for a really long time, but he was also one of the like main leads on Runaways. So like, this is a low budget, produced out of love production, but they managed to get some, if not like A-listers, like solid B-listers.
Yeah, they got some good people, good solid people in it. He goes to the interview. He has gone the extra mile by handwriting his resume in calligraphy.
And you can see the interviewer is amused, but also like, this guy.
He has met far too many of this man interviewing for the position.
His credentials are not particularly stellar. He has listed all of his nerdy role-playing achievements on this interview, but not much actual stuff that shows that he has the experience or leadership that this role needs.
Yeah, I have heard of some people like using nerdy type pursuits, especially when it's a job that pertains to the industry. Like, I get that. Mm-hmm. And so that part's semi-believable. The part that really gets me is like the only thing that the interviewer has a problem with is he doesn't have any leadership experience with 15 or more people.
Yeah, because he is interviewing for an as yet secret project that is an ARG, which they call an alternative reality game. And he would be interviewing for the position of
game director, I think.
Game director, yeah. Where in the industry it would be a puppet master or something along those lines.
Yeah, like a regular director, but with a game.
Yeah, so the only thing stopping him from getting this job is a lack of leadership experience. And this is one of those situations where white dude gets to fail up so hard.
Yeah.
Because the guy's like, well, you don't really have any qualifications for this job, but you know what? I'm not making my decision for another week. So
yeah. Like, I've never had an interview that happened like that.
No, it's usually like, okay, we like you, but we're trying to decide among candidates if you could provide us some more supplemental material that might help us make that decision. That'd be great. But in this case, it's like, you're unqualified, but if you can prove to me that you're qualified in a couple days, then you can have the job. And it's like, whoa.
Prove to me that you are a leader. Well, he specifically points to on his resume, like he led, they call it guilds in this, but it's like a gaming group, essentially, of 6 people. And he's like, that's not enough people. Like, that's the only thing wrong with that.
Yeah. Not the fact that he also listed all of the items that he acquired as his Bartlett in character.
Yeah, and like all the hours, and I guess one of the games he plays, video games, I'm guessing. Oh, man.
Yeah, so that is the central conceit of this, is that Voss needs to prove to Warlocks of the Beach that he has leadership potential by doing something big and leadery.
Yeah, and he doesn't know what to do.
Mm-hmm. The next day, he is back at the gaming table with his group, and he decides to challenge the game master, who has been kind of consistently bullying people the entire time.
Yeah.
In some of his directions, and the game master's not having it. He's just like, nope, like, this is my game, and if you don't like it, you can go.
Yeah, so he calls a vote, and everyone agrees to, follow Voss. And it's like, okay, but you have to fight the Beast Lord. And there's a good comedy beat where he puts the giant figure on the table and the wings fall off, and it's like a 5-headed dragon holding a gun.
I love that terrible Beast Lord. It's like a small human gun, but it's attached to this really large minifig.
Yeah, it's like a football-sized figure of a dragon. Like someone hot glued the heads of other dragon figures onto it and then gave it like an actual person gun in its little dragon hands.
Yeah. The game master also takes this opportunity to kind of cheat, even though he really doesn't have to, but he sneakily adds skills to the Beast Lord's character sheet in order to let him do things that he's not supposed to be able to do.
Just to kind of hammer home that this guy, even though Voss is kind of a shit, this guy's even shittier.
Yeah. So they have a climactic showdown where Voss's character descends from the astral plane where he wasn't supposed to be.
Yeah.
Quaffs all of his magic potions, sings his songs of whatever.
Draws his mystical blade. I can't remember if it's Hieronymus or Heroicus. Heroicus.
Yeah. I don't know. And I'm not even sure if it's his blade or his magic flying unicorn.
I'm pretty sure it's the blade because he says he holds it aloft. But yeah, it's not super clear.
But prepped as much as he possibly could be. Everyone at the table is suitably oh, this is it. He's using all of his stuff.
Mm-hmm. He is redlining it, but the GM's like, well, that'd be pretty great, but you need to save against psionic death stare.
And everyone's like, wait a minute. And he's like, no. Yeah, it's here on the sheet.
Since when does the Beast Lord have psionic powers? Since he was a little Beast Lord baby. Holds up the character sheet. So
there's a tense dice rolling sequence where he needs to hit 9 or up in order to save against psionic death.
Yeah. It's one of those things that I didn't, it kind of bugged me until I really thought about it. They don't go super in the weeds with the rules and stuff, but that's only because that stuff doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. It's about what's going on in the story. And they're telling us that, his first roll is a critical failure. He's got to get an 8 or better on this next roll or he dies.
Yeah.
And then has to leave the group forever. It's the stakes.
Yeah, those are the stakes. And, there's a whole sequence where Marcia is standing there. She pulls out the dice for him, puts it in his hand. He holds it out to her to blow on for luck, but without ever looking at her. He just assumes that she'll do it because that is her role.
And she kind of gets confused and she picks it up and looks at it and then shakes it around and then puts it back in his hand. And he shakes his hand oh, and then she blows on it. And then she's also singing for his character too.
He does not deserve her. She is too good and too pure for a trash man like him.
Yeah. If I was in the movie, I would grab his collar and I'd be like, what is wrong with you? And shake him until his teeth come out.
This goes about as well as you would expect.
Yeah. Magmel dies and Voss is thusly banished from the group. And he jumps up and shouts. And one of the Garys instinctively reaches for the phone to call the police. He's like, no, I'm role playing. I'm a barbarian.
Thus chided, he has to leave the group.
I did feel a little bad for him, but I don't know. I guess a really crappy GM can make even a shitty person seem okay.
Despite all of this, Marcia's still hanging off of him. Maybe we can start our own game and do all this other stuff. We don't need him. We can just have our own little narrative together. And the dude just sucks. He just keeps shooting down everything that she's suggesting. Like, he doesn't want anything to do with her right now. He's just having a sad and having an angry.
Yeah. And he slinks off to his closet and goes to sleep and has the dream sequence.
Yeah, that dream sequence is wild.
Yeah. There's like this puppet orc thing he slices the head off of, and an Amazon lady with a spear. I think it's played by Marsha. And they're like on top of a mountain, and there's like an aurora in the background. And he shouts out his sword's name, and then a black unicorn with blue wings flies down and breathes fire onto the sword, and his sword's on fire. And he just screams into the heavens.
He sings. He like does a nice tenor like octave, and then it's a Boris Vallejo painting on the side of a van with robot unicorn attack thrown in there for fun.
Yeah, just for funsies.
Marsha is full Conan woman, sprawled on the ground, like fully made up, glasses off, looking just seductive barbarian lady.
Which says to me on some level he gets it, but it's just not quite getting through to him.
Mm-hmm. What it seems to me is like she is an accessory to his character as much as that unicorn or the sword. Like, it's just all about the Bardladin.
I think this story really could have been enriched if it turns out that, yeah, he's Ace. Like, because there's a beat, I don't know if it's now or a little later, I think it's before Magmel dies, but where she was thinking about writing up a romance story for their two characters, and she's already written up this backstory, and he's like, but Magmel's celibate. It's like, that would have been a neat clue for that.
Yeah.
But no, he's just an idiot.
Yeah, he's just the worst, because like she's willing to kill off her fictional husband and all of these other things, but the same night when he's having a sad, she is also having a sad in her own way, because the person that she had met in her online role-playing game, I forgot what his name was, like
Valeric Stormcloak or something like that.
Yeah, they are out hunting in the game, and they're having a good time. The game looks amazingly bad.
It's not terrible for fake movie game, honestly.
Yeah,
I've seen a lot worse.
He's excited to meet her because they were supposed to get together and have their first real IRL date, but she has some important, heavy, serious things to talk to him about.
And it's kind of established here she has some sort of anxiety that she takes medication for. I don't think I've ever seen any of it where you have an attack and then take a pill for it while you're having the attack. It's always like you take it at the beginning of the day to prevent attacks, but I don't know everything.
Yeah, it kind of feels like she has anxiety plus like heart issues. The way that she treats those pills, almost like nitroglycerin pills.
Yeah, that would almost make more sense. But yeah, so it's a heavy enough situation to warrant her taking her medication. It's a medication situation.
Yeah. She tells her online romance...
nerdy computer friend, man.
The person she's been dating online, she specified, that she's actually in love with someone else. And he asks, in the game or IRL? And she's like, real. It's really real. Very real.
Very real.
And he is distraught by this, and he just lets his character get killed by terrible little bats.
Yeah, it's so great. It's so pathetically great.
It's really good.
He just kind of stands there not saying anything, motionless, while these bats just kind of bope at him until his health goes away and he falls down and they're still bopping his corpse.
Yep. And she's very concerned for him, but he just wants to be left alone.
He's like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to leave you on.
But
we
he's
can
just
still
like,
fight. And he's like, I need to be alone while he's on the ground getting attacked by bats.
Yeah, he's the worst.
Oh my God.
After this dream, the next morning, Voss wakes up to an invitation to chicken breakfast.
Yeah, and it really feels like this was going to be the moment that she tells Voss to his face, her feelings for him. Because, a giant bowl of fried chicken in the morning, which meant that she either spent a lot of time the previous night or that morning preparing for him.
Yeah, she's dressed up in like a gown, basically.
Yeah, beautiful gown. And she's got her hair up in a ribbon, and she's got her makeup, and it's gorgeous. She's just the most adorable, cutest thing ever. But Voss brought Clancy.
Yeah, she is a little taken aback. She's like, "Oh, how wonderful that Clancy's here! Great."
She does a really good job of hiding how disappointed she is.
Oh, she also has sewn him a cloak.
Right, I forgot. She hand sewed him a cloak with a unicorn on the back, and it's lined with flannel, and it's really nice. Like, people don't just do that, man. Come on.
But he's like, okay, sure, thanks, I guess. He doesn't recognize at all the amount of effort she's putting into
telling him she has feelings for him.
Yeah. Even if she didn't have feelings for him, like, if a friend did that stuff for me when I was having a sad, I would be like, you're such an amazing friend. I love you. And, like, I'm so glad you're in my life. As opposed to, like, whatever. I just need to, like, figure out this job thing for wizard or warlocks.
Warlocks on the beach. Of the beach, on the beach. I don't know.
Yeah.
They don't play that up as much as I was afraid they were going to. The only thing about it is, like, when he goes there, it's very obviously like a hotel that they CGI'd the logo onto.
It's really good.
And then we get to awkward chicken breakfast with Clancy.
Voss is drinking out of this ginormous silver goblet that she has prepared for him.
Yeah, and even Clancy gets a goblet. His is smaller, but still, like, she went all out on all of this. Like, she's pouring some sort of liquid, I'm assuming iced tea. I don't think it's wine, but from, like, a drinking horn. And she's got dry ice prepared so that it can bubble. And then, you know, the chicken's in this giant bowl festooned with celery. Like, it's really decorated. And the cupcake wizards. Cupcake wizards.
She went completely way above and beyond, and he didn't notice any of it.
If I was in a relationship with someone and they did that, I would assume I had forgotten it's my birthday.
Yeah, it is beyond what I have had done for my birthday most of my life.
Yeah, and it's just to let him know she cares. But he brought Clancy.
But at least Clancy's enjoying the food.
Yeah, and it's really awkward and quiet. Everyone's eating, and there's much pouring of liquids and dry ice. And then Voss gets an epiphany and runs out the door with a cupcake.
She runs to follow him, and then Clancy also runs to follow them both.
Yeah, he pockets a couple cupcakes, but yeah. And then we just sort of get a mad dash patchwork explaining of this brainstorm that he's had, where he's going to create a utopia for gamers.
Mm-hmm.
Which, for all intents and purposes, is just an extended LARP.
A shitty extended LARP.
They put some effort into it. Yeah, I've never been to a LARP, but I've heard of worse.
I would posit that Clancy put some effort into it. I am not sure how much effort Voss actually put into it.
Yeah, he seems to be he's directing. Everyone else is doing the work, especially Marcia. She's doing the lion's share of all this organizing.
Yeah. Oh, but we forgot to mention the previous day, before Voss's epiphany, some point along the line.
Yeah, it's some point before chicken breakfast.
There is a cutaway to a play.
We get to see Shadowhawk in his native environment. I think it's right after the game, because I think it's a match cut from him looking smug after Magmel dies to him directing the play.
Yeah, like right after the game, there is a cut to a stage where it is the weirdest set dressing. It's this Wild West Asia thing, and there is a geisha and a cowboy on the stage.
With bad makeup. They both have bad makeup.
Yeah, it was a super cringy part. If it weren't specifically set up to be this guy sucks and everything he does sucks, I would be like, this is a hate crime, sir.
Yes. I'm calling the police. It kind of struck me. I had a thought later. It's this is if someone described Bunraku to someone.
Yes.
And then they tried to make a play out of what they had heard from that.
Yes, exactly. It is the worst. And of course, it's some random white lady playing the geisha. I think the guy playing the cowboy, he had this accent that I'm not sure if it was supposed to be Mexican or not. It was weird and also kind of racist. I
think it was supposed to be a southern accent. I was distracted by, him really spitting out those peas. Mm-hmm. Really just getting that spit into his scene partner's face.
all of the dialogue was super, super cringy racial stereotype stuff.
If I might quote one phrase so that everyone's soul might die just a little bit, my love for you is like a sushi roll.
Yeah, that is about the level of art that Shadowhawk is producing in this theater.
Oh no, I misremembered that. It's my little sushi roll. My love for you is like a dishonored samurai.
Yes. Yeah, I was like, oh God.
This is very obviously written to be bad, and I am thankful for that.
Yeah. Amidst this direction, Shadowhawk is controlling all of his actors, and Marcia comes in to beg him to reconsider letting Voss join the game.
Yeah, she tries to discuss like various in-game options where they can bring him back. She's like pleading for his character's life.
Mm-hmm. But Shadowhawk is not having it, and he says that sometimes the best thing you could do for someone is to show them how much they suck.
Which is ironic. Voss sucks, Shadowhawk sucks, Marcia's great, Rhubarb's great, Clancy's great, Jeff in his own way is kind of great.
Yeah, cut to the epiphany that they are going to create a utopia for gamers.
Yeah, it's sort of a rambling slapdash, everyone grab your gear and meet us. Blech. I would have liked to have seen some kind of establishing of how they knew about this empty field that they go to, how they heard about it. That would have been nice for setting up for later. But
they don't really show you a lot of prep or anything. There's a shot of Clancy running through a field for no good reason.
Well, no, Voss handwrites a note while he's on the phone to people, and it says, get grandma's car. He's like, he doesn't want to, and he's like, go. And so Clancy's like running to grandma's house to get the car, and then he sticks his foot in like a sinkhole, loses a flip-flop.
But in trying to fish his flip-flop back out of the sinkhole, he pulls out what looks like the handle of a sword, but it's actually just a bunch of PVC pipe.
It's probably part of the sprinkler system for the park he was running through. But it's, you know, it looks cool.
It's sword-shaped.
Mm-hmm. It's very sword-esque.
He holds it aloft and does a couple like experimental twirls with it and is super, super pleased with himself.
Oh, yeah. He's got that I just found something that looks like a sword look on his face.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he shows up with the car and Voss immediately appropriates it, further cementing his douchebaggery.
Yeah, he took his brother's sword that his brother, he's like, it chose me, like Excalibur. I pulled it out of and he just immediately just yoinks it and sticks it in his belt.
Yeah. And like the thing that I have to actively try not to think about, otherwise it ruins this movie for me, is they're essentially creating a LARP, but everyone already has LARP gear.
Mm-hmm. It's a little weird, honestly.
Like everyone already has camping gear ready to go. Everyone has like costumes, accoutrement, weapons, armor, elf ears if their character has those. It's all already made. So what makes this different from any other LARP besides from Voss just throwing it together in like 5 minutes in his basement?
Yeah, I would have liked to see a little bit more of him doing the prep work of making the cosplay, of making the props, of making the boffers, like doing the work to ensure a good time for other people instead of just like calling people and being like, yo, we're going to do this thing. Come do this thing.
Going to the field.
Mm-hmm.
But it starts out not too bad, like for maybe like a day thing. It's kind of cute. He just sort of lines everyone up in the field and he's like lays out the lowdown of you are your characters now. And he's setting the stage. Mm-hmm. And then he runs off into the foliage to hit some branches with the pipe. And then Clancy backs the station wagon up out of the forest.
Yeah, the station wagon is covered by this tarp. Clancy gets out, climbs on top of the station wagon underneath the tarp, and holds it aloft. And you can see that it is a tarp with pool noodles and like little plastic doodads on it, just kind of made up to look like a slime. And he's holding the mouth and articulating the pool noodles to make it talk.
Yeah, it's got pool noodle lips and big orange spikes, and he's in the mouth shooting Nerf guns for effect. If this was real, I'd be like, oh, that's clever and fun.
Yeah, it feels a lot like the fun little meme stuff that people do on Twitter and TikTok where it's like, recreate this famous painting using garbage in your house. Except in this case, it's like, recreate a battle in your favorite RPG using garbage in your house.
A tarp and a station wagon.
So it infuriates me that Voss is the one leading the charge. He's both playing the game and trying to control it, and Clancy actually has to do all the hard work and doesn't get to like participate until later.
Yeah. Like, all in all, it's a fun little sequence. And if like it was just like a day thing, that would have been cool.
Mm-hmm.
But after that, to like get everyone we know, we're going to do this up big. We're going hard.
And I'm not entirely sure what he intended from that, other than like, I've never heard of the word scaling, so therefore we can just keep adding more and more people to a thing. It'll be exactly the same, and it'll be great for everyone.
Yeah, it's not. And he forgets very important things that people need, like food.
Yeah, I don't think they have like bathrooms either. He sets people to a task of digging a moat.
Seems like it ends up being a major tripping hazard.
Yes, they don't get very far. They get like maybe a 6-inch trough that is about like 2 feet long.
2-3 feet long. Yeah.
The people in this town, I guess, are used to low quality entertainment, so they're all having a good time.
Yeah, there's like a Mystery Man-esque recruiting kind of thing where everyone lines up and says their character name and what they are, and we get other girl character, which is the other thing that really kind of disappointed me about the movie, because her whole personality is just trollop.
Yeah, they make her out to be literally a whore. Like, in a lot of scenes, she ends up selling her sexuality for money or other less valuable things than money.
Fried rice.
It's kind of gross how they treat her, because she's literally just ogled at by all of the men. She's treated like a sex object. She doesn't get any lines other than like, my name's whatever, I work at Whole Foods. My character is like...
My character's skills lie along the lines of seduction.
And then that's it. Like, she never gets any other lines. They mostly just like look at her and then she does a sexy thing.
Her whole thing is to be a rival with Marcia for Voss, even though Voss is just the most oblivious dipshit that ever oblivious.
And I also don't like that from Marcia's character, that like the first time that another woman has appeared that wasn't barnacled to a man already, that she immediately fell into like jealous girl trope.
Yeah, that really bugged me. Like, it would have been neat if it kind of starts off like that and then they end up working together. But no, she's just kind of a one-note rival character, and that's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it sucks.
It does. You can tell this was definitely written by dudes, and It is what it is.
I even had that thought like immediately after she walks away, and then 3 guys follow her out of line to go sit with her. And it's like, this was written by more than one man.
Like, Marcia, the entire time, is this subservient secretary to Voss's weird Napoleon.
Yeah, she's doing all of the work. She's writing everyone's character information down. She's taking Polaroids of them. She's got like a fanny pack full of like supplies and crap. She's documenting all of this for him, writing it down, videotaping everything.
Mm-hmm. Like, without her, he wouldn't have any proof of anything that he did, but he's still taking her for granted constantly.
Like, without her, this might not have even been completely organized, because, yeah, he called a couple people, but he told her to call everyone else, too. Mm-hmm. So,
like, anytime he wants anything, he goes to her, and she does it for him because she's obsessed with him, and she goes above and beyond.
She could do so much better.
She could do so much better. Like, that was my refrain this entire movie. Like, girl, you can do so much better than this man.
But then Rhubarb shows up and saves this whole scene.
Yes. You kind of hear this, like, crunching noise. You see a shirtless man with a big mohawk appear in the distance, and there's something behind him, but you're not sure what it is. And then they do the, like, close-up.
I really liked how they did that first close-up, because so his whole deal is he's got, like, fur pants on, and he's dragging behind him what ends up being a cooler covered in fur with wheels on it and legs attached to the wheels because he is playing a centaur.
Yeah, the legs are attached via like cams, and so as the thing rolls, the legs go up and down in this like little clip-cloppy motion, and it is brilliant.
They fully in squeaky wheel noises every time he's on screen, and I absolutely love it.
His character, we saw earlier that he worked in some Chinese restaurant, and when Voss calls him up to invite him to Unicorn City, he's like, I can't really talk, someone's here, and Voss is like, is Shadowhawk there? Shadowhawk's with you, right? And he's like,
he's not invited.
Yeah. But Rhubarb is like, hey, yo, I'm here. I ditched Shadowhawk. Like, check out my suite. Everything. He shaved down the sides of his head, spiked up his mohawk, very tall. He has also sculpted his chest hair into this, like, amazing, like, V-neck of hair.
Yeah. No, the best part is when he first shows up, his first full look on camera is a low angle shot from in front of him to just sort of be like, it's a centaur, which is just, oh my God.
It's pretty amazing. His chest hair is sculpted in such a way to show off this like little amulet that he wears around his neck, and it weirdly becomes kind of a like throwaway joke later on. He's the best. And once he shows up, like, things can really kick off.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of comedic beats involving him and his hind cart. Like, Voss is having another rousing speech to the troops, and he needs to cool off, so he pops the drain plug on the cooler, which just happens to be on the butt end of the horse. So it looks like he's washing his face with centaur pee.
It's super good. Unicorn City is established. It's just a bunch of tents sort of centered around this tinfoil unicorn statue that they created.
Yeah, there doesn't seem to be any real goal. And unfortunately, despite Rhubarb's best efforts, I'm sorry, I can't get over the whole centaur thing. Like, when he first showed up on screen, I was like, Rhubarb the centaur! Despite his best efforts, Shadowhawk managed to tail him, and he's just kind of hanging out in the bushes in the worst camouflage.
With the larger party, they decide to have their first major adventure together, and Voss kind of tells them to split up and pair up with someone else and go off into the woods to do something. It's never really clear at all.
He also kind of tries to solicit donations, which Marcia, again, she tries to get the wheels rolling by donating $1 and being very presenty about it. And they use someone's shield as just like a donation dish. And then someone took the $1 while it was being passed around. It's not really clear what they're doing when they're just running around the forest and hitting trees and shouting.
Yeah, Voss's best efforts are at best very inept.
To his credit, he is wearing the cloak Marcia made him, so he didn't forget about it, but he's still a dipshit.
The seductress decides to volunteer herself to be Voss's partner for this pair up, and so they decide to go off into the woods together.
And Marcia kind of sneaks after him. This is a pretty cringy sequence.
It's really, really bad. Yeah, Marcia is just like super jealous that Voss is literally in the proximity of another woman, and she just like runs up and kind of tackles the other lady.
She pretends to like trip over her, but she like straight up shoves her down.
And like doesn't even try to be like, oh no, I'm sorry.
She gives a very brief small, oh, I didn't see you there.
Yeah.
But
it is textbook Mean Girls, and she doesn't deserve that.
That's not a Marcia move.
Mm-mm. So this girl has been knocked out, and they're very concerned for her. And so instead of getting her medical attention, they decide to try to bring her back with healing spells.
All right, everybody chants, and Magmel brings her back from the dead, and there's some fun, bad play acting.
Their first foray ending in disaster, they decide to return back to camp.
I think this is also the time when Mooners has a run-in with the cops.
They left Mooners there back in camp to guard the tents and also to pick up garbage. Voss has been bribing people with experience points the entire time to do things for him because he can't pay them.
Yeah.
So Mooners has been roaming around picking up plastic bottles and things and winds up on the access road to this site, just kind of standing.
Yeah.
in a field on the edge of the road.
Very weirdly. Yeah, and then officers Cooley and Hamwater roll up. And Cooley's talking about how she finally paid off her student loans, and the state troopers have to accept her now, and she's super jazzed about it. But then they spot Mooners.
Yeah.
She's just like, bogey at 12, 11, 10, 9, like as they pass by.
He is supposed to be foreign. They call him the German at some point, but he doesn't know what to do. So he just kind of freezes like a deer in the headlights, drops all of his garbage, and they're like, what are you doing here?
Yeah, he's just like, I'm not doing anything here, officers.
I was just taking a walk.
In my elf costume.
Yeah, they're very suspicious of his like full Peter Pan Keebler elf outfit, and so things go down. But when everyone else gets back to camp, they notice that Mooners is gone.
And they have a big search party for him, and that was a point when I realized that his nickname was Mooners. Because Marsha's shouting it the loudest. Like, she is true to her nature, being the most helpful here.
Mm-hmm. She should just run the whole thing because she actually cares about all the people and she wants to make sure that people have a good time. And if Voss wasn't there, she probably could have made it pretty amazing.
Like, she's got the best ear makeup. Like, it's blended really well. She doesn't have just plastic ears sitting on hers. And she's running around in this field in satin dresses, which it got to be like 80-degree weather at least. Like, she's a superhero.
Yeah, she's really the best. But eventually, Mooners walks out of the woods and is like, yeah, I was picked up by the police. I have to pay a $150 fine for trespassing, but I didn't snitch.
Yeah, and that's the first really inkling we get that they're not supposed to be there. That could have been set up better. It pays off later, but until we get the idea that they are here illegally, there aren't really any stakes there.
Because it was just like, okay, why are they just harassing this dude? He's in a weird costume, but it's a public park or whatever, wherever they are.
They don't say anything, so it just seems like it's public land, and it later turns out to be a thing, which, I mean, we'll get there, but like, it's one of the things that definitely could have been set up better.
Instead of being responsible about it, Voss is just like, okay, we're just gonna have to set up a guard. Who here has the best night vision? And someone like in a penguin costume raises his hand.
It's like, how powerful is it? And he just lifts up a big flashlight and shines it right in Voss's face.
Like, there are a lot of good jokes in this. It's just in the service of a kind of flimsy story.
Yeah, that could have been set up better. And even like we skipped like a big thing because in organizing all of this, Voss doesn't want anyone to know that he's doing this for a job interview. But that ends up not mattering at all. Normally that kind of setup would come with like a revelation that everyone would be disappointed in Voss, and that would be like a big turn. But when he does reveal it, everyone doesn't give a shit.
No, it's because they're already disappointed in Voss because he sucks. Like, of course that was something that Voss would do because he's a manipulative jerkhole with anger issues.
Oh.
They decide to go to bed for the night in the knowledge that more new players will be joining them the next day. So it's going to be growing even more. Before the next morning happens, Marcia and the Barnacle girl have a little heart-to-heart.
Yeah, Angie. I really wish we'd have gotten more with Pat and Angie because they end up actually being pretty cool when we do get to talk to them. It's just sort of like their PDA is just played off as a joke most of the time.
Angie's this sort of like 30-something scene goth girl who is still fully living the life. And Marcia is upset about all of the things that have happened. And Angie's like, look, I can help you get together with this man, but you have to do everything I tell you to do. And just trust me on this.
Like, I feel like this movie could have really benefited from either removing or beefing up the succubus character and having her be something else. And then having it turn out that Voss was ace. Like, that really could have enriched all of this. Like, again, I know I keep harping on that, but like, we go into the scene where Marcia has the band start playing and she starts, you know, doing a dance.
It's really super awkward and super amusing because Clancy's there on a recorder just playing off key, just random like toot, 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 toot. And she is doing a seductive dance in her most seductive outfit, which is basically her dress with a bra like put over top of it.
She's like kind of got it cinched around the waist so it shows off her hips a little more.
She's doing kind of this like dance of the seven veils thing, and all the men are seeing her for the first time, and they're like, ooh, this girl.
Yeah, and then other girl gets jealous, stomps over to dance area, and then rips off her midriff. to out-sexy the other woman.
It's very silly.
Not to harp on it even more, but if I were rewriting it, would have made Voss ace, would have tried to give him more opportunities for character growth, to be less of a dipshit, and then make Succubus Girl like a more of a character, and then her and Marcia end up together.
100%. That's what I was thinking the entire time. Or have one of the two, either Succubus or Marcia, get together with Clancy. Because, like, that dude has been very kind to everyone and, like...
doing his best this whole time. I love that his costume is just cat ears and a tail.
Yeah.
On a t-shirt and jeans.
He's the most, like, anime of all the characters. And I think that would appeal to, like, weird succubus lady.
Yeah.
Marcia, feeling ashamed and cornered, runs away from the fray. Angie catches her. Marcia's like, I can't do this. This isn't me. That was terrible. I did it wrong. And Angie's like, no. You did great. Now, just listen to what I have to say. Here comes Voss. Just be really mean to him. Just be really mean.
Tell him you hate him.
Yeah. And then she walks off.
She can't do it.
And she can't do it. She's trying to, like, give him the cold shoulder. She, like, takes off her glasses and is just, like, trying to be distant.
She's so cute.
He's barely paying attention to her.
Yeah, like, he's trying to be nice. He's, like, doing the bare minimum of caring about her friend.
The reason he sought her out was because he had an epiphany and he's like, hey, do you know anyone who maybe knows someone at a news place that you could call to get, like, press for this? Because, like, I think we should get some, like, reporters in here to talk about this. And she's like, yeah, sure, I guess. But, like, I'm here vulnerable. I've got my glasses off. I did a sexy dance.
I broke up with my online boyfriend.
Yeah, she reveals that she's single now, and he still doesn't get it. And so to try to break through to him the only way she knows how, she just kisses him on the lips.
Well, he sort of shows some concern. He's like, it's really cold out. You're going to freeze your butt off. He puts his cloak on her and kind of pulls her close, and then she goes in for it. And it's really cute.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she's just the most adorable person.
They have a kiss, and then you think that they're gonna maybe have a second one, but it doesn't happen.
Yeah, she not sure what he wants, and he is a dipshit, and she runs away. It's like, that was stupid, I was sorry. And to his credit, he's like, I can't believe how stupid I was when he leaves. It doesn't make up for the titanic amount of dipshittery between then and now.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, he's at least kind of self-aware.
Not entirely, because his dipshittery continues the next day.
Oh, it does.
Night passes. They wake up. You see funny shots of all these different mans sharing tents together. And they wake up and a big tour bus has pulled up to their campground.
And for some reason, Voss assumes it's from Warlocks on the Beach. I don't know why you got that impression.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure either. He just wants to impress whoever's in there because he believes that, like, word has gotten around of his valorous deeds and important people are coming. And so he goes up and
he knocks and he's just kind of like bows his head and puts his arm out and like, welcome. But yeah, it's Shadowhawk. This is Shadowhawk's tour bus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he's got a bunch of rando orcs with him in pretty good, like, rubber orc masks.
Yeah, one guy's got like a full outfit, another guy's got like a really good orc mask, but he's also got like a tie-dye t-shirt and jorts. So
Voss is appropriately surprised and upset that Shadowhawk is here, but Unicorn City is open to all, although Shadowhawk keeps calling it Unicron City.
He keeps trying to tempt people away from Voss's camp with promises of pancakes.
Yeah, it turns out Shadowhawk, unlike Voss, actually thought of what players would need and brought refreshments and food and a volleyball net and other fun camping gear in his big tour bus.
Yeah, and then we get a nice thing with Rhubarb, and we see, you know, his cooler stocked full of energy drinks and a Tupperware full of fried rice. And Voss tries to buy some off of him.
And Voss is like, hey, can I get some of that? He's like, well, nothing's free, so what are you going to give me? And Voss is like, I have $1.
Not enough, dude.
And then this is the part where, again, like, the way they treat the succubus character is super shitty because Voss kind of just, like, motions at her and towards Rhubarb, and she's like, okay. And basically she trades her sexuality for 2 things of fried rice.
Yeah, she makes out with him for a while, and then they're done, and then he's like, more. And that happens a couple times, just like, come on, once would have been enough.
It's pretty gross that he's pimping her for 2 things of fried rice.
Yeah.
She seemed down with it, whatever, and that's fine. But the fact that he had no compunction just doing this, definitely not leadership material. We also didn't mention that earlier during the battle with the giant slime, he had one of his people shoot a bottle rocket at Clancy.
Oh, yeah. Part of the thing was he grabs like a thing of fishing line from Clancy in the slime mouth, and he runs over towards Pat, and there's a bottle rocket on the line. And he's like, launch magic missile. Fire a bottle rocket directly into Clancy's hands.
Yeah. It's super dangerous, and this guy sucks. Like, if his intent was to show his ability to lead people, he has failed at literally every turn. One of his people got arrested. One was, like, put in possibly grievous injury by him. He was definitely doing weird stuff with the ladies. Like, if this were their convention, it would have been shut down a long time ago, and there would have been, like, numerous tweet storms about this.
Yeah, I mean, if it were a convention, there'd be like porta potties and food.
It is worse than DashCon.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
At least Fire Festival gave people ham sandwiches.
And FEMA tents.
The conflict with Nighthawk is interrupted when a white van pulls up.
Yeah, until you mentioned the news thing, I did not know where they came from, and I was really confused. Like, I wasn't super confused, because Voss just kind of assumed the bus belonged to this company he had talked to once. So, yeah, of course he would assume that a news van would just know where he is and want to interview him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, basically, Voss lives under the assumption that Marcia has done literally everything for him and set up the PR, contacted all the right people, did all the socials. He just expects things to work perfectly and just rolls with whatever happens because Marcia is this invisible safety net that has been with him for presumably years at this point.
Yeah, like she's just this dervish of protective caring energy that's always been looking after him. And he's just taking it so for granted that at this point, it's just a part of his background noise.
Yeah, her character is actually really capable. She works for DigiCert, which is presumably some sort of tech company.
It's one of the companies that sponsored this movie.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I saw it at the end. I was like, where have I heard that? And then you just mentioned, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, and she's like, I can get you a job there if you want to just get a job.
But no, he's a sad sack, whiny boy. Like, no, I don't want to work for them.
Ladies out there listening to this, don't date sad sack whiny boys that aren't worth your time.
Yeah. If your partner cannot properly thank you for the handmade cloak that you made for them, leave.
To be fair, I've had partners that couldn't properly thank me for the handmade things I made for them. So that's why I have a different partner now.
So you left.
I did. I learned my lesson, unlike Marcia.
But yeah, they seem weirdly interested in this gathering of nerds. And you just sort of get a cut to the end of Voss with his weird spiel where, like, if you don't get this, you're not a gamer. When the newscaster asks him to explain everything in layman's terms, quote unquote newscaster.
Her cameraman has a crappy 80s era shoulder mounted camcorder like you would see dads with at Disneyland.
Yeah, one of those bazooka jobs with the VHS, the full-size VHS port in it.
And you're like, I can't tell if that's supposed to be a real camera or not, because I know this is a low budget movie and I don't know. I don't know.
Like, for me at this point, I was like, I'm going along. And it's like, okay, sure, it's a news crew. Something like the gag here is Voss is going to do something stupid and embarrass himself on the news, which doesn't turn out to be the case.
Nope. Because they're like, okay, great. We have all the stuff we need. We just want to get like one more thing with you, the leader guy, and then also you, I guess, the cat guy. Maybe we'll go up to a mountain over there and we'll get a picture of you at the top of the mountain with your sword held high.
Yeah, the wind billowing, your cape. The jig was up for me when I saw that they were taking Clancy too, and he was like, they just wanted me for some shots. And I was like, oh, these aren't real news people.
They load them up in the back of this white van.
This unmarked white van.
This unmarked white van, which is surprisingly empty. Like, there's no news equipment in there. There's no electronics. It's just an empty white van. And then they drive them away.
They just floor it down a dirt road and they're bouncing around the back. But yeah, they just drive for a while and then they're like, okay, we're burning daylight, run up that mountain, and then just leave them there.
Yep. And it takes them a couple seconds to realize what has happened. But when the van like disappears into the distance, they finally get that the jig is up.
Shadowhawk hired some actor friends to bamboozle Voss away from camp, and also Clancy for some reason.
Yeah, I believe that they are the geisha and cowboy from the beginning.
That wouldn't surprise me. I couldn't tell because the makeup in the beginning was so thick. It's so bad.
Yeah, you see them again at the end as part of Shadowhawk's retinue. So I just assume that that's them.
Clancy puts it together as they're walking back, and it's like, local news just wanted to see us in an unmarked news van without a channel number on it.
This is the point where things start falling apart and they have their brotherly blow up. Clancy's just upset that Voss has been taking advantage of him. He's like, I want my sword back.
They get into a shove fight, a brotherly shove fight.
Yeah, that doesn't end well. Voss knocks Clancy to the ground and then starts choking him out.
I kind of miss what happens after that and between them getting back to the camp.
Starts choking Clancy out, and they both see that Voss has crossed a bridge that he's never crossed before. Clancy's holding his throat. He's like, I felt a crunch. This isn't cool. I don't want a part of this anymore. He quits. He throws down his cat ears and his cat tail, and he's like, I'm going home.
He walks back into town.
Yeah. Voss makes a long walk back to camp by himself. By the time he gets there, there is just open mutiny. The only tent that has remaining in his area is Marsha's, and she comes up to greet him.
Yeah, everyone's hanging out over at Shadowhawk's van because he's got volleyball and tunes and pancakes.
Yeah, they actually seem to be having a good time.
Yeah.
If Voss weren't so ego-driven about this whole thing, he'd be like, oh, great, cool. He was able to provide a lot of the things that we couldn't do on our budget. So, like, great, we'll work together and make this a great thing next time.
If he had a plan, even. I mean, his plan was basically go into field, ? Profit.
Yeah.
He realizes that Shadowhawk set him up, so he stalks towards the tour bus because he's going to kill him, figuratively. And then he trips on the moat real good, and we get like a really borderline disturbing shot of him, like a slow zoom in on him while he's holding his ankle. And Marsha is just like trying to take care of him. Like, you look like you sprained something. That looked like it really hurt. Are you okay? Why aren't you talking? And he's just laser focused on the camera and by extension Shadowhawk's van. And it's like he's crossing that bridge into Murder Town in his mind.
Marsha,
she's so sweet.
Yeah, she's trying her best to take care of him, but he isn't having it.
He challenges Shadowhawk to a duel by stabbing an index card into the dirt outside of his RV. We also learned he can't spell for shit.
He cannot spell for shit. Like, even though he hurt her feelings in a lot of different ways, he even calls out the fact that, like, her plan for making up the love storyline between their characters was just a ploy to make something happen between them. It wasn't ever going to happen. Whatever. He just needs to focus on this job. All he cares about is his job. He needs to get this job.
Yeah.
This guy sucks.
Yeah, if this was better written, this would have been like a real turning point where we kind of get, okay, he's ace. You know, that just doesn't occur to him. It's not something that's on his radar, you know. But he's just plummeting further and further into the depths of dipshittery.
And so, with a heart full of rage, he challenges Shadowhawk, who at this point has graduated from his weird, like, Hugh Hefner smoking robe into this,
Shakespeare on the beach.
Yeah, Shakespeare on the beach meets Elrond from Lord of the Rings with like a dream catcher tied on the back of his wig.
Yeah.
It's weird.
One thing about Shadowhawk is he's balding, but he's got a ponytail. From here on, he's got a white wig over his already long hair. He's got a poofy white shirt with a brown jerkin with the puffy shoulders, and then like buckle shoes and short shorts.
He looks like a Venetian prince from the waist down.
Who's going to spring break.
Yeah, it's a weird look. It's a very weird look. But he is like, okay, if you're going to challenge me, sure. But the stakes are whoever wins, like, gets control of everything, and whoever loses has to leave forever.
And then he's like, since you challenged me, I get to choose the weapon, and I choose wit.
Yeah. And Voss is not having it. He's like, no, I just want to punch you. Like, let's just punch each other like mans. And he's like, no, your Bardladin code says that I can choose whatever weapon I want, but it never specifies the weapon.
And then he proceeds to just make up shitty questions.
He basically clowns on Voss. He starts off with a story puzzle.
Yeah, I've actually been in games where something like that has happened. I don't think we need to get into it. It was a trick question.
And not a very good one. And then humiliated, Voss is like flustered, and seemingly in his benevolence, Shadowhawk decides to give him a break, and they'll move on to the your mama jokes.
Maternal insults, as he says.
Yes, maternal insults. To which Voss is also really terrible at and is humiliated utterly. Like, none of the people that he invited out are willing to support him at all. They're just laughing at him, and he is just fuming at this point.
Yeah, even Marcia doesn't. Just like, okay, finally. To be fair, though, your mother smokes troll malarkey out of a corncob pipe is a pretty good non-swearing insult.
Sure, but your mother dates dragons is not.
That's like a cool thing. That's a cool thing that moms would do if they were cool.
Voss, being the utter shitbag that he is, just snaps and decides, okay, if I can't win a battle of wits, I'm just going to knock this guy out.
Yeah. Takes a big old swing with pipe sword, and Shadowhawk dodges, and he ends up wanging Marcia in the face.
Yeah. And Marcia goes down. She's lying there on the ground, and yeah, he sucks so much. I think at this point he just like runs away.
There's a big hoi polloi. Shadowhawk's feigning caring for Marcia. He's skeezing on her. He's been skeezing on her this whole movie. Like, she's caught between two shitbags, essentially.
Yeah. Now a little snapped out of his murder rage, Voss just leaves camp.
He's on the access road staring at him, and then like all his stuff gets thrown from off screen over his head. So I think everyone was like on a lift or something because it came from way too up high.
It was a good joke.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. Like, everything gets shucked past him.
Yeah, they booted him out of Unicorn City, which honestly is kind of the fate of a lot of founders of things that end up being shitbags.
Yeah. He goes home and has a moment with Clancy. This is when Clancy's like, I'm going to go join the Marines or the Navy or whatever. Someone who's going to give me a sword because I'm going to do something. Also, Marissa loves you, you dipshit. You're being a giant dipshit, you dipshit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's where Clancy dips out for the last time. Well, not the last time.
No.
Out of this current narrative.
Yeah.
Voss is at home. Jeff is like, fuck you. You didn't show up again to the taco truck. You're out. You're evicted. You can't live here anymore. Just get out. And he's like, no, I'm not going to get out. And then Clancy comes in and gives him what for. And then Voss is like, get out, Clancy, which is a really great thing to say once you've been evicted.
No, you leave.
But Clancy leaves, and so Voss is by himself at the lowest point of his life, looking at all of the things around him that once gave him joy, but are now just like proof of the wreckage of a human being that he is, and just starts trashing his stuff.
Yeah, he knocks over all the miniatures and the terrain on the table, and he comes away, and his hand has been impaled by a magmel and that stupid machete.
Yeah, and he starts screaming, and Jeff, to his credit, runs in and is like, all right, let's get you to the bathroom.
We got this. Come on. On the count of 3, 1, pulls it out.
Gives him a roll of toilet paper to like blot the bleeding, uncaps a whole bottle of rubbing alcohol, pours it on his hand. He's like, all right, you're good. Slaps
a bandage on his palm. And it's like, this is really when that comes home. Because before this, when he was telling Voss that he's evicted, he was really getting choked up. Like, you could see the tears in his eyes. He really cares for his brother. And he wants him, maybe not to succeed, but to survive, to do okay.
Mm-hmm.
And he's genuinely concerned. He goes in there and he helps him out. He patches him up.
Yeah. He also is like, yo, Marcia actually really loves you. Why are you being an idiot?
Yeah. On the way out, he's like, oh, yeah, Clancy was right.
Yeah.
Marcia loves you.
I guess finally he decides to listen to someone and decides to leave the house. Cut to the interior of
the creep van.
The creep van. Marcia's lying on a table with all these magnets all over her.
Yeah. Shadowhawk lured her into his lair with promises of ice packs for her wound, and then did the whole, it's so skeezy, but it's a funny bit where he's like, how many fingers am I holding up? And he holds up 2, and she says 2, and he's like, see, I was only holding up 1.
Yeah, he's straight up gaslighting her in order to creep on her.
Yeah.
He gets her inside. She's lying down with all these like different magnets attached to her in different places. And they start making small talk. And he's like, oh, Marcia, your character's name, Rashana, that's an interesting name. Where did it come from?
Egyptian god friend from the 8th grade. It's like, yeah. I've been characters like that.
Yeah. And she's like, oh, what about yours, Shadowhawk? And he's like, oh, that's my
fake name.
And she's like,
really?
She's like, what? Wait, what do you mean fake name? It's like, it's the character. He's like, well, I didn't want to tell you my real character name.
It's worth pointing out that while he's doing this, he is massaging her foot that she did not ask him to do with lotion.
Yeah, he's a creepy creeper.
Yeah. I was cringing so bad this whole scene. It was just like,
yeah,
my shoulders up to my ears cringe.
And she's like, wait, your fake name, what's your real character name?
I didn't want to tell you because I was shy.
Yeah. And eventually he reveals that he was whatever that name we said before was.
Teloric Storm douche, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, the guy from the MMO.
Yeah, he's been creeping on her online and in real life.
Yep.
And she's mad at him for lying to her.
Yeah.
Because he said he was 26.
Yeah. He's like, I knew you would never talk to me if I told you how old I actually was. And she's like, ew, that's so gross. And you could read this one of two ways, right? You could either be like, she's being super ageist and that's not cool. Or it's super gross that he would try to catfish someone that he knew in real life. And I'm choosing to read it the latter way because all of that is true. Like, that is deeply gross. It's just the way that it's presented in the film is a little ambiguous.
Yeah, and that's probably one of the bigger problems about the film. There's a lot of needless ambiguity about a lot of things. And there's a lot of, I have to guess, I had to sift through the credits for a couple characters' names that they could have just thrown out there at some point. And then he traps her on the bus. Like, he's between her and the exit, and she's trying to get off.
Yeah, thankfully they didn't do that for very long because like immediately cut to her stumbling out the door while he's like, no, Marcia, no, I just, and
how can I prove how much I love you?
Yeah, it's pretty gross. But at that point, the cops show up.
Yeah, throughout the entire movie, after the first encounter with Mooners and the cops, every so often someone will shout cop and everyone will hit the dirt. And it's like kind of like a running gag that pays off now when Officer Cooley and Officer Hamwater show up. And they're like slowly driving in, looking at everybody. This is a breeding ground of geeks.
Yeah, they get out and they start addressing everyone and they're like, okay, you're all trespassing here. What are you doing here? You can't be here. This is a super fun site. The ground is literally poison. You can't be here. You have to leave.
And I meant to look up Superfund so I could say what that was for our non-American listeners.
The way I understand it, Superfund is a program that they had in the like 80s and 90s where it would be toxic waste dump sites that they were funding to clean up as part of this super fund.
Yeah. If you look up Love Canal, I think 3 Mile Island was also a Superfund site. Maybe Centralia, Pennsylvania, the Silent Hill city, I think.
Yeah, basically places that are deeply toxic to human habitation that they need to clean up and make habitable again.
Yeah, and Officer Hamwater's like, y'all are going to have 2-headed babies.
You see everyone in the background kind of like staring at each other and being like, oh, but Shadowhawk thinking that, again, projecting his own...
Giving Voss way too much credit.
Yeah, well, this is a clear case of projection where he's like, well, this is something I would do, so therefore someone is doing it to me. Is like, oh.
He thinks the cops have been hired.
Yeah.
They're not real cops and they're acting. And he's all like, what are you going to do? Slap plastic cuffs on me and sing me happy birthday?
And the cops are confused. Shadowhawk is approaching a little recklessly towards them because he does not believe that they're real cops. So Officer Cooley pulls out a taser and points it at him.
Yeah, it's just like, everyone back up on the ground, hands on your head. And he doesn't. And then the inevitable happens.
Yeah. Poor Mooners takes a taser to the chest.
Yeah. And it's kind of a big fustercluck. Everyone's running around and screaming. The 2 cops are trying to corral everyone. Voss is running up to everyone through all of it. And I mean, I kind of like this scene, even though Voss is kind of a shit. I feel like if it had been better written, this would have played better. But it's still pretty funny. Officer Cooley has Marcia on the ground. She's pointing the taser at her. Marsha's starting to have medical complications and she's trying to go for her pills. But to the officer, it looks like she's reaching for something, so she won't let her. And Voss jumps in the way of the stun gun. To her credit, Officer Cooley doesn't fire. Voss just like does a face plant 3 feet away, diving past them.
Yep.
Trying to take a bullet for Marsha.
But he buys her enough time to take the medicine, and then he gets tasered.
Yeah, and then Cooley just turns and tasers on the ground.
Yep, that is where it cuts to black, and it cuts back to both of them face down in the dirt, zip-tied hands behind their backs, just kind of being like, well, that could have went better.
Yeah, and then Voss gets the idea to use Magmel to cut off the zip ties.
Yeah, because he's been carrying that very sharp Magmeld figure in his pocket the entire time.
In his back pocket that he fell onto earlier.
Yeah, but somehow that works, and they manage to break free. In his first and only real act of leadership, he decides to unite the entire party to fight off the cops.
Yeah, he jumps up on the station wagon and gives a rousing speech. I just love how they shot just before that, where the two cops are trying to corral all the nerds and they're moving as one amorphous flock of geeks.
Yeah.
They're kind of like, no, you're going to spook them. Go that way.
He manages to sing an inspiring song and rouse the party. Somehow
assault some cops.
Yeah, they manage to chase the cops back into their car and then jump on the car to the point where the cops peel out, fleeing from this horde of enraged geeks who are now triumphant in their victory over the police.
And then Voss has his "I don't deserve to be your leader, will you still follow me" speech. Also, this was actually a job interview for me, and nobody gives a shit. I mean, they cheer for him, but they don't care that it was a job interview. Like, that's a non-issue.
No, like, they survived fighting off the cops, so they're pretty jazzed.
But then SWAT shows up.
Yeah, it's the classic someone saying something and then behind them all the things are happening.
Yeah.
Like multiple SWAT vans, multiple police cruisers, like a bazillion officers all come, and like everybody is thrown down to the ground and arrested.
Down on the ground now. Down on the ground, Peter Pan.
And it really highlights how literally everyone in this sequence was white, because there were no people of color, and this would have gone very differently if there were.
Yeah, very much.
But I did appreciate Rhubarb's like attempt to get on the ground, because everyone else drops, but Rhubarb, being the centaur, has this thing tied to his waist, and he does not want to reach down for it, so he kind of just like wobbles back and
tips
forth.
Himself over.
Yeah.
Sideways. Oh, and then earlier when the big melee happened and Voss puts Marsha on his cooler behind and is like, get her to safety, stop for no one. And he just runs across the road and drops her.
I'm glad someone got to ride that cooler.
Yeah.
Cut to all of these sad looking nerds in court.
I thought it was going to be like everybody, but it's just like the core group. Like, it would have been really funny if it was everybody. Mm-hmm. But it was just, Pat and Angie and Rhubarb and Mooners and Marsha and Voss and Clancy.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, Clancy's not there. He went to join the Marines.
Yep. Yeah, Clancy escaped all of this nonsense.
Yeah.
The judge is kind of laying into them, and he's like, these are all the crimes you committed. You thought that you would just create this, how you said, utopia for gamers?
He's actually being super nice about it. He's like the coolest judge I've ever seen in a movie.
He is. And as he's about to hand down sentencing, he's like, okay, I'm giving you 800 hours of community service.
800 hours of community service building a unicorn city in the city park to help at-risk teens, which is a really cool idea, I gotta say. And that's only like one summer's worth of community service.
Yeah.
But then he brings them in.
He's like, I'll bring it down to 700 if I can be the king.
It's just like, you got it, Your Majesty.
Yeah. And so
I love that judge.
Yeah, the judge is real good. And then cut to the office of Warlocks of the Beach, or at the beach.
WotC insert company.
Yeah. And the interviewer is watching this video on Marsha's camera, being like, you got arrested to get this
Trying
job.
to get a job here? Anywhere else. Anyone else. He'd be like, get the hell out of my office.
Yeah. But he's like, well, that shows passion. Sure, you got the job.
Can I show this to some people around the office?
And he's like, yeah, I guess. He's like, okay, well, when can you come to Seattle? And Voss is like, well, I have some community service to do, but I guess time after that. He's like, don't worry about it. Just come whenever.
Take as much time as you need. And he's kind of flipping through the information packet he has. from everybody, all the Polaroids and the information Marcia wrote up. And like he gets to her page and it says her character name and it's in parentheses, AKA me. And it's like, that was a very cute, very her thing that she totally would have done.
Yeah. And finally, I think he starts to understand that other humans exist and have feelings.
Yeah, because he shows up at the park. Marcia's operating one of those giant park mowers, which of course she can do. Marcia's awesome.
Yep. And you get a panning shot all around the different aspects of Neo Unicorn City. Now in the park, everyone has their roles and there are kids everywhere. Mooners is showing little children how to do archery on these like little straw bale targets, and people are making boffers for them. And
yeah, there's a snow cone mana potion station and a ye old blacksmith where they're making all cardboard weapons and stuff with duct tape, and a little arena where kids can, you know, whop at each other with foam swords. And
there's pony rides.
Oh my god, it's so cute.
Yeah, there's like a bunch of like little tiny ponies, and then one of the ponies is rhubarb.
And then the succubus has a kissing booth.
Yeah, didn't like that part either. Still kind of gross. But the king is there and he's welcoming everyone to Unicorn City. And then cut to a ceremony where the king is marrying Angie and Pat.
Yeah, that finally pays off.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, thank you.
It's really cute. Pat's having to recite his vows in this language that Angie made up.
Yeah, and then it turns out Voss turned down the job at Warlocks to stay in town and be with his friends, and probably also Marcia.
Yeah, they share a kiss in the middle of their friend's wedding, which is a little disrespectful, but it's fine. Yeah,
and he's sort of like, maybe we could get together, but framing it as one of our characters got married and had children. Something. It's just kind of yeah, like just fucking say it, dude. Come on.
Yeah, I get that it's supposed to be cute and whatever, but we have not really gotten any clear indication that this man has learned how to have feelings and express those feelings.
Yeah,
but whatever, it's a cute ending, everyone's happy, and then this joyous wedding party is invaded by villainry as Shadowhawk and his companions jump through the bushes, armed with boffers, and the entire party, King included, all gear up to fight them, and Voss and Marcia drop into their dream sequence poses, and end of movie.
Yeah, that was pretty cute. And then we got a neat little mid-credit scene where we catch up with Clancy. He's in, I'm guessing, the Marines judging on the uniform, and he gets a package from Voss and a nice little note. And it says, gosh, what does it say? It's not great. It's almost clever. Something about swords choosing their destinies or something.
The power of a sword is to choose your own destiny or something. It's weird. But anyway, he just sends him back that like pipe sword.
The PVC pipe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which he swings around his tent and then like clobbers one of his...
Some guy walks past him and he just whacks him across the back.
Yeah.
Roll credits.
I guess he's just angling for a dishonorable discharge.
Or maybe that guy was giving him shit. I don't know.
Yeah. It's a weird ending. But yeah, that's Unicorn City. I liked it a lot when I saw it initially, and now I just feel like Marcia was treated so poorly that it's hard for me to enjoy that movie as much as I wanted to.
Yeah. There's a lot of good jokes and great physical humor and really funny beats. But there's also a lot of rough storytelling and a lot of, like, they clearly missed important bits of information that should have been conveyed to the audience. But like, by and large, this movie's charming enough that I didn't care. Like, it just didn't occur to me until I was done watching it. And to be completely honest, like, before I started this, I was in a pretty bad headspace. I'd had a rough couple of days and I wasn't feeling good. And after watching this movie, I felt better. Like, watching this movie really helped me out.
That's good. It's a fun movie. And if you can get over how much of a shitbag Voss is, all of the supporting characters are amazing. And again, I wish Marcia just had her own movie.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, it's almost worth watching just for Rhubarb the Centaur.
Yes. 100%. I enjoyed this film and I would recommend it, just with the caveats that like 2012 was a different time and our relationship with shitty, egotistical nerd men was a lot different one prior to a lot of the reactionary movements that we've seen since then. So
Yeah.
the context has changed, and a lot of the stuff that we were willing to kind of give a pass to in the past are definitely not cool in 2020. So just a heads up, nerds be nerds.
Yeah. I don't know if I can completely recommend this movie to everyone, but I'd say if you are into nerd stuff even a little bit, or if you want to know more, it's not a good informative thing, but it's a fun time to watch, and it's super adorable and endearing. And like you said, the supporting cast is just such a huge draw for this. It's so much fun to see them be themselves. I watched it on Hoopla, but it's also available for free on Amazon Prime if you have Prime.
Yep.
Pretty easy to check out.
Yeah. All right. That wraps up another episode. Sky, where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter at shard_corso. That's SHARD_CORSO. Kate, where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter and TikTok as Army of Meat. And yeah, hopefully we'll have a equally entertaining thing to talk about next time. But if you need something else to listen to this holiday season, you can find our old episodes on Spreaker at www.spreaker.com/shows/interesting choices, or search for us in the Spreaker directory. You can also find us on Amazon, Spotify, anywhere else that you can find podcasts, Apple Podcasts. That weird bootleg CD guy down the street probably carries us. I don't know. Look us up. And yeah, we have quite a bit of a back catalog now, surprisingly.
Yeah, and if you have suggestions for stuff you might want us to cover, you can also drop them at our Twitter, at Interesting Choice 6, INTRESTINGCHOI6. And we can't promise we'll get to it, but it definitely will get added to the backlog for consideration. You can also support the show at www.patreon.com/interestingchoices. And if you pledge at the $5 tier level, you can help us decide what we're going to do next.
Yeah, so thanks for listening, and until next time, we'll see you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.